Can we talk about the fact that Brandon Sanderson is a freaking wizard? I read The Well of Ascension, which is the second book in the Mistborn Trilogy, and seriously, I started reading it, and normally I can read like 2, maybe 3 books at the same time. But Brandon Sanderson was like, "You shall not pass." And I was like, "But I was gonna read The Daughter of Dr. Moreau at the same time," and he was like, "Nope, Sin, no. You're gonna read my book." And I was like, yeah, I am. And you know why? You know, most books, you read them as you start the book. Put a toe in the water. Oh, it's a little cold. Brandon Sanderson chucks you in the deep end of the pool. You just start out and it's like an explosion of story and plot. And you're like, I need to know what's happening. Holy crap. The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. If you saw my prior video of the first book, I wanted to know if the hype was real. The hype continues to be real. In the first book in the Mistborn Trilogy, just as recap, the kingdoms were all oppressed by this Lord Ruler who oversaw the land, and he was very evil. The lower classes, the Ska people, they were oppressed. And what happens is this motley crew of characters get together and then raise this whole Ska rebellion, and in the end, they conquer the Lord Ruler. So this is what happens after that. Currently, the character Ellen Venture is king. His Mistborn Vin is with him. It is what happens in all the after effects and, you know, the chaos that ensues once the Lord Ruler is defeated. And I guess it is kind of a chuck you into the end of the freaking pool, so you sink or swim. And it's like, well, you swim because you want to know what's gonna happen. And it's seriously, he's a freaking wizard. This book, you get into what will now happen. Ellen Venture truly loves the people, the Ska. He wanted to set them free, so now they have businesses and they can be merchants and they're not oppressed and they're paid. Before, they weren't paid and they just labored away and they hated their lives and they just try to keep their heads down to avoid notice so that they wouldn't be freaking executed. So now this is all the after effects and like the politics. And so Ellen creates this assembly with some noblemen and some Ska and some merchants. You come into this story and there's an army pulling up outside because they want to take the city of Luthadel, which is where we are currently, or the kingdom and whatnot. So this army's there. Guess what? It's Ellen's horrible father, because his father in the last book was trying to have him killed too. So sorry if that's a spoiler. I assume if you're watching this, you've probably read the first book because this is the second in the series. So it's his father's army. They way outnumber them, and the assembly's like, well, let's just hand it over to him. And he's like, we're just gonna give up and go back to the oppression and the crap and the just put the Ska back in slavery. Everything goes back. These assemblymen are just trying to, you know, keep their titles and whatnot. And so he's like, what the heck? Just, you know, give me some more time. But then, a second army appears. Lord Set. All right. So he comes up. So this here provides a conundrum. What happens is it provides them more time, because if one army attacks, then the other army can attack them from behind, and this, that, and the other. So it kind of lays into, all right, like a waiting game. So then it comes to the point where they're going to try to starve them out or do this, that, and the other. But then the assembly is a bunch of turds. All they want to do is just turn over the kingdom to one of these. But now they got to figure out if they want to be under Lord Set or Lord Venture, and they know that Set's probably a better bet. And so Ellen has to figure out how can he prevent these turds, because they are, from turning him over. And I mean, there's a couple guys who are kind of okay on the assembly, but, you know, he wanted to give a voice to the people and not be like an iron grip ruler, do as I say, you know, all that. So he's trying to maybe be too nice. And what happens when you're too nice, right? You kind of get trampled on, you kind of get walked over. No one takes you seriously. No one looks at you like you're a kingly person. So he has to come into his own. He has to grab himself by the balls and rise up and be a leader and a king and all this stuff. You're in the deep end of the pool. Brandon Sanderson's like, swim, and you need to know what happens. And this book in the Mistborn Trilogy, holy crap. I couldn't stop reading it. I started it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read some of this and then I'm gonna read some of this other book, and I was thinking about another one and I just couldn't. I literally couldn't. I was supposed to edit videos. It had its tendril hooks into me, and I could not stop reading it. Every spare moment was spent reading this book until it was finished. And so yes, this book is called The Well of Ascension. And the Well of Ascension, what that is that's how the Lord Ruler took power all those years ago, and he recreated the world. And so there's prophecies of the hero of ages, and so some of the scholars and people are trying to figure out like the mythos and the stuff behind the hero of ages, like what actually happened, what is it. And then the Lord Ruler supposedly conquered this thing called the deepness, and now they're afraid maybe the deepness is coming back because the mists are behaving very strangely. And then they think that maybe Vin, the Mistborn, maybe she might be the hero of ages. And so the Well of Ascension they start to look for at some point in the legends. The Lord Ruler took the power for himself, and that turned out very bad for the lands. So they think she needs to go and then release it if she does find it. And that's like way off in the mountains, far, far away in Terrace. That is also in the book, on top of all the craziness with the armies. It gets even more chaotic. If you like fantasy and just a spell-binding, gripping story that keeps you up at night and you can't frickin' set it down. The Mistborn Trilogy. Holy bananas. I gave this, what do you think? I gave this 5 stars. Otherwise I wouldn't be ranting about him being a wizard. Brandon Sanderson made me give him 5 stars because he's a wizard. How many times can I say wizard in this video? Oh my goodness. I love the characters. You get more development of them. Obviously it's a second book, so there's more that you see into them. And then a few new characters are introduced, and phenomenal writing, just magic. Books are magic. They are wild and they are magic. And this is like wild magic. Wild, chaotic magic. If we were in D&D, this book as a character would have wild, chaotic magic. Maybe it would be a druid. I don't know. So if you have not seen my first take into Is the Hype Real about Brandon Sanderson with the first book in the Mistborn Trilogy coming up next, that video will be right here if you want to check it out, so stick around. And if you had fun hanging out today, boop that like button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish stuff and weird things.